Today, we will talk about a Scandinavian myth. In this video, we will focus on the hair of the goddess Sif. But first, let's figure out who she is. Sif in Scandinavian mythology is the goddess of fertility and the wife of the famous god Thor. In terms of beauty, she is second only to Freya and Frigg. In her presence, everything around her blooms and comes to life. Animals love her, and she loves them too. She also patronizes lonely women. However, her most distinctive feature is her remarkable hair. And now, I will tell you how she got it. Long ago, in ancient times, Sif had wonderful blonde hair. She was very proud of it, but one night, Loki sneaked into Sif's chamber and, out of jealousy towards Thor, shaved the sleeping goddess's head bald. Upon waking up and noticing the loss, Sif began to cry out loudly for her husband Thor. The god of thunder immediately came to the call of his beloved and was surprised by what he saw. But as soon as he understood what had actually happened, his surprise turned into anger. The thing is, Thor quickly guessed who was capable of such a cruel joke and immediately set out to find Loki. Meanwhile, under the branches of Lorad, the god of fire Loki sat calmly, very pleased with his prank. He peacefully watched the jumps of the squirrel Ratatosk, but his tranquility turned to fear the moment the mighty figure of the god of thunder appeared before him. Thor was furious. The hair on his head stood on end, his eyes filled with blood, and his red beard shook with anger. "Now I will break all your bones, Loki. Prepare to die," Thor growled. "Thor, please spare me. I will make amends and fix everything," Loki begged. "Lies. How will you return Sif her beautiful hair?" Thor asked. "I will go to the kingdom of the dwarves. You know what wonderful things they make? They will definitely be able to make her hair, and I swear to you that it will be made of pure gold." Despite the fact that Loki was quite a rogue and a notorious liar, Thor still tempered his anger and understood that even someone like Loki would not dare to break an oath. Therefore, he let him go. Loki wasted no time and went straight to the realm of the dwarves, Nidvalir. There were many remarkable craftsmen among them, but the sons of Ivaldi were the most famous. It was to them that the god of fire turned for help. Hearing his request, the dwarvens were very pleased. They had long wanted to show the gods their unusual art. Without wasting any time, the dwarves set to work for free. In less than 2 hours, the hair for the goddess Sif was already ready. Thinner than spider webs, long and thick. In addition, if you put it to his head, it immediately attached to it and began to grow as real, although it were made of solid gold. The delighted god of fire got up and was about to take the hair to Thor, but one of the sons stopped him, saying, "Wait a little, we haven't finished our work yet." Loki obeyed and stayed, and the dwarves started hammering again with their little hammers, and soon they made an extraordinary spear, very long and covered with exquisite carvings. It also had magical properties. It could hit any target, regardless of any armor or shields. They called the spear Gungnir. In addition to it, the sons of Ivaldi also constructed the magic ship Skidbladnir. It was the largest ship in the world, and wherever it sailed, the wind was always at its back. But it was also made in such a way that it could be folded like a regular canvas and tucked under a belt or even put in a pocket. When everything was ready, one of the sons of Ivaldi handed over the ship, hair, and spear to Loki and said, "These are our gifts to the gods. The spear is for Odin, the ship for Freyr, and the hair for Thor. Take them to Asgard." Loki, taking the gifts and thanking the sons, set off on his way back, and as he was about to exit the underground realm, he saw 2 dwarf brothers, Brock and Sindri, working in one of the caves, and with a desire to taunt them, he spoke these words, "Are you really masters? Look at these beautiful things and learn how to work." Dwarf Sindri was a skilled craftsman. He examined the ship, the spear, and the hair with a scrutinizing eye, and he said, "Undoubtedly they were made by the most skilled craftsmen, but I can make something even better." Loki, not expecting such a reaction, became angry. You're just a worthless braggart. What is your skill compared to the skill of the sons of Vivaldi? I'm even willing to bet my head against yours, but you'll never be able to make anything better than these hairs, this ship, or this spear." Sindri answered Loki in a completely calm voice. "Well, let's bet our heads, but I warn you, you will lose yours, and I will cut it off without mercy. And now wait here, and you will see if I am a braggart." Saying this, Sindri walked into the cave where the workshop was located. He put a piece of gold into a burning furnace and ordered his brother to keep blowing the bellows without stopping. "Remember, if you stop working, even for a moment, everything will be ruined," he said to Brock and left the workshop. Loki, on the other hand, came to his senses and realized what a foolish thing he had done by so carelessly putting his life at stake. Then he decided to prevent Sindri from winning his bet at all costs. Transforming into a fly, he sat on Brock's cheek and tickled him with all his might. Brock shook his head, frowned, endured, but did not stop working. As soon as Sindri crossed the threshold of the workshop, Loki resumed his previous form. "It's done," said Sindri. He approached the forge and pulled out a golden ring from it, the most beautiful that Loki had ever seen. "This is Draupnir," continued Sindri. "To whoever wears it on their finger, it will bring 8 more rings exactly like it every 9th day." "Not bad," said Loki, "but the ship and spear made by the sons of Vivaldi are far superior." Sindri remained silent, only placing a pigskin in the forge, instructing his brother not to stop working under any circumstances, and leaving the workshop. Loki transformed into a fly again and began biting and tickling Brock's forehead, cheeks, and neck, even harder. Poor Brock blushed like a lobster. He was sweating and barely keeping himself from raising his hand and swatting the annoying fly away. Finally, when his patience was nearly exhausted, Sindri entered the workshop, and from the forge emerged a huge boar with fur made of pure gold. "This is Gullinbursti," said the dwarf. "He is as fast as Odin's 8-legged horse and can carry his owner through forests, seas, and mountains as easily and freely as on a smooth road." "The boar is good," said Loki, "but the spear, Gungnir, is still better." Sindri didn't respond this time either. He placed a large piece of iron into the forge and, asking his brother to be particularly attentive, left him alone again. Feeling that his head was in danger, Loki attacked Brock even more ferociously, under the guise of a fly. He sat right on Brock's eye and bit him mercilessly. Brock cried out in pain. Unable to restrain himself any longer, he abandoned his work and grabbed his eye with his hand. But at the same moment, Sindri appeared in the doorway. He quickly went to the forge and pulled out a heavy iron hammer. "This is Mjolnir," he said. "There is nothing in the world that could withstand its blow, and after striking its target, it returns to its owner's hand. Now tell me, which of the sons of Vivaldi's creations can compare to it?" "Let's go to the gods instead," said an embarrassed Loki. "Let them decide who won the argument." Sindri agreed eagerly. He took the hammer, the ring, and the boar, while Loki took the hair, the spear, and the ship, and both set out on their way. In a few hours they arrived at the source of Erd, where the gods passed judgment, and saw Odin, Freyr, and Thor sitting on top of one of the hills. Loki stepped forward and gave Odin the spear, Gungnir, Freyr the ship, Skidmlunir, and Thor the golden hair of Sif. Then Sindri approached the gods. He told them about his dispute with Loki and gave Odin the ring, Draupnir, Freyr the boar, Gullinbursti, and Thor the hamper, Mjolnir. The gods consulted for a short time. They unanimously recognized Mjolnir as the best weapon against the giants, and therefore the best creation of the dwarfs, and thus they decided the dispute in favor of Sindri. "Well," Loki said, the pleased dwarf, "say goodbye to your head, because I will cut it off." "Before you cut off my head, you need to catch me first," Loki replied mockingly, "and for that you need to run faster than me." With these words he put on his winged sandals and whirled away. "That's not fair," Sindri shouted. "Catch him, Thor. He bet me his head. He has to give it to me." The truth was on Sindri's side, and Thor immediately gave chase. It was not difficult for him to catch the fugitive. No matter how fast the god of fire ran, Thor ran even faster. and in less than half an hour, he returned dragging a struggling Loki behind him. "Now you won't escape from me," exclaimed Sindri, running towards the fugitive with a knife in his hand. "Stop!" Loki shouted. "Stop! I only bet you my head, not my neck. My neck is mine, and you have no right to touch it." Sindri stopped and thought. Finally he said, "You are very clever, and managed to save your head, because I cannot cut it off without touching your neck. But you will not go unpunished. Now I will sew your lying mouth shut, so that you can never boast again." With these words, Sindri took a needle out of his pocket, pierced Loki's lips in several places, and tightly sewed them with straps. Alas, he barely had time to disappear from sight when Loki had already freed himself from the straps that bound his mouth and began to chatter and boast as before. The gods did not get angry with him for this. After all, it was thanks to his chatter that Odin got his remarkable ring, Freyr got his no less remarkable boar, and Thor got the hammer that made him the terror of all giants. Sif wasn't angry with Loki either, and no wonder. Was it not thanks to his trickery that she now had the most beautiful hair in the world?